This is about a book entitled H is for Hawk. Sometimes it takes an added extra nudge to get me involved in a project, even a small one like this. I saw a program on TV about a woman and a hawk, and the lady had written a book about herself and the bird, their relationship. I thought I should get that book and read it, but I did not. Later, having forgotten all of that, I caught the tail end of an interview with an author, a young black man. He was asked what books he was reading, and he mentioned several, clearly related to his own interests, meaning also by black authors. And then he said, and of course, H is for Hawk, the book about the woman and the bird. This time, I got the book. It was a big New York Times bestseller. The author is listed as a poet, and the book seethes with poetic intensity, at times, for me, too much. My attention was microscopically fierce, she wrote, and things of no import burst into extraordinary significance, fireworks. The author is so passionate and riveted to her plan to train the hawk to hunt that at times I felt as if I were prying as I read her words and braced myself against the unchecked rush of her blood, her swirling, unfiltered thoughts. She is impressionable, and I envied her that. I tend to meet events and people with a great and leveling equanimity. She lives every moment in the moment. At one point I made a note, this is like opera. I was admiring her work, but not enjoying it. It was written at such a high, shrill, breathless pitch. There was a time when she asked her hawk, Mabel, who put the acid in my tea? It's a very valid question. The book is a pulsing, glowing drug trip. It is overly dramatic, swooning and dreaming, but what can you expect from a woman who wants to fly with a hawk? She writes, I've made a hawk part of a human's life, and a human's life part of a hawk's, and it has made the hawk 1,000,000 times more complicated and full of wonder to me. She's not kidding about that million. There is one web containing several characters, the author, her father, the hawk, and T.H. White, author of a book on training a hawk to hunt, the Gosh Hawk, as well as the Once and Future King, a book that reestablished the eminence of the myth of King Arthur and the Round Table, Merlin, Guinevere, Lancelot, and Camelot, just in time for the Kennedys. I read that book years ago and loved the part in which Merlin educates the young boy, Wart, by turning him into various animals, including a hawk. The rest of the book fell off for me, probably because it's not about promise, but confusion and defeat. The author is in constant contact with her father, the hawk, and White. Her life is stopped and then started again by the sudden death of her father. Her feelings for her father are more acute than any I have ever felt. It made me feel like a drab shadow of a being. Tim Kreider called for a life of hard-edged intensity. He and this woman would, I think, get along. Kreider and this woman were both middle-aged and unmarried, a very sharp perspective. The woman calls such people singles and inverts. So this was my second book in a row with that sensibility behind it. Early on, she tells of her father explaining patience to her. He was a photographer. He said it was the most important thing of all to remember this, that when you wanted to see something very badly, sometimes you had to stay still, stay in the same place, remember how much you wanted to see it, and be patient. That word derives from patir, meaning to suffer. I was reminded of a nature photographer who spent 42 days to get a single picture. Of course he went back at night to sleep, he said, but 42 days at 12 and 14 hours a day. Was it worth it, he was asked? "You tell me," he said, showing the photograph he had taken. The woman wanted to be like the hawk, solitary, self-possessed, free from grief, and numb to the hurts of human life. She did train the hawk, and in doing that sees that she is not a hawk, but a human, and in need of pain, as well as joy and community. Reading the book was like riding a roller coaster at a carnival. Wild.